Hello, and welcome to the Simply Business Interview Podcast, a podcast created by business owners for business owners. I am your host, John Jennings. I believe that most business owners are working way too hard for much too little. And one of our issues is that we overcomplexify things. I believe the answers are almost always within us or within our reach. I like to say that I'm a simple man with simple ideas. So welcome to Simply Business. All right, today I have an interesting conversation ahead. People come to me a lot of times with an idea, and we'll talk about it, and it'll really be honestly more of a hobby than a business. And sometimes I have to tell people that, but some people actually take hobbies and turn them into business, and then businesses, and they grow and they grow. And April Foster is one such person. So, April, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yes. Hi, I'm April Foster. I grew up I grew up all over in Texas, Tennessee, but then went to high school at North Bullitt High School near Louisville, and then moved down to Bowling Green, Kentucky to attend Western Kentucky University for school. So I consider myself a Kentuckian since I've lived here most of my life. I Early in my career, I was a pharmaceutical rep. Feels like ages ago, and I was traveling the roads, and I was also at the hobby, as you mentioned, in my spare time, scrapbooking. And I was in my 20s and would just go to these different scrapbook stores. And back in the day, there was old media. You would look at magazines, and then you'd see really pretty inspirational things. You would go to the store, and by the time you got to the store, and it had sold out because the magazine was so backdated, the way the timing and everything worked on that. So had the idea to connect content and commerce, and started a brand called Studio Calico, which was subscription scrapbook supplies. Super sexy. That was the time, like before even Birchbox started, which was makeup. And I was like, why didn't I think of Birchbox? But instead it was scrapbooking supplies, and that was my hobby. It was just a really great hobby, but most of the people that were running online retail at the time, this was before Shopify, before that whole era. And so most of them were running it like it was their hobby, and they'd go on vacation and shut their store down, or they'd quit answering customer service. And I was like, well, that's no way to run a business. You got to answer, like, these are your people. This is your lifeblood, And so we really founded Studio Calico on a few things. The Calico name came from neutrals, because everything out there just was so bright and crazy, and that wasn't my personal style. And so always having a neutral base, like the calico color of a cat, with the browns and the blacks and the whites, and then with pops of color that came in, was the studio, the art aspect of it. And of course you're adding your photos to a scrapbook. So started it, and with about maybe $4,000 or $5,000. It's hard to even track back then, because it's coming out of my personal bank account, so it was kind of got mixed in there, in that first year. And started Studio Calico, launched as subscription business. And I can remember my web developer. He's a great friend, but at the time, and I like to give him grief over it, because he was at the time, he goes, so when you sell out, you're gonna replenish that, right? And I go, no, we're just gonna sell out. He goes, what? That will never work. And here we are, almost 20 years later, and it worked. And because those were the early days of subscription services, and like that urgency that was created in that. And my husband harped on me for margin and not giving away my margin when I would negotiate better deals with UPS and that sort of thing. So I learned so much and had just really good advice from people who had some backbones in business. But yeah, it was definitely born out of a hobby.
Okay, so you did this first business, and that starts to take off. At what point did you start to go, wow, we can do this with other brands, do this with other I guess industries or product lines or whatever? When did that come about?
Yeah, so everything about Studio Calico was very organic. Like, I was blogging at the time, and so I had some friends in the industry, and they were blogging and sharing. And every time we did those little collaborations, we would grow our audience size. And so we ended up doing one collaboration with a lady named Becky Higgins out of Arizona, and she founded a brand called Project Life, and it was all about scrapbooking and like sticking these little Instead of using scissors and glue, you'd stick these little pockets into page protectors or like photo sleeves, and you could just do it kind of on the go. And it was super easy, created a lot of entry level scrapbookers in that time. And she was having trouble keeping up with demand. She didn't have a direct to consumer arm really. And so we said, hey, we could like ship these every month, these kits out. And when we did that, it was insane. We were drinking from the fire hose. I was pregnant with twins. It was the best time. We had like 4 or 5,000 people on our wait list at one point, and that was nerve wracking because we started like sending them gifts, and we had to start buying everything from Asia. At that point, we were buying some things domestic. At first, we were buying some things domestically and sourcing some things in Asia, but because the quantities got so large, we didn't have any domestic suppliers that were ready for that at that point in time, and the packaging and all the things that were tooled up and geared up for it. So we had to switch everything to Asia, which totally changed our cash position. Like I said, it was totally drinking from the fire hose, and I didn't know anything. I was like, it says I've made money here on my P&L, but I don't have any money in the bank. Like not understanding this at all because it was just as much cash was coming in, it was going right out because it was growing so fast. And we were paying ahead of time by ordering in Asia like 6 months ahead. And we didn't have a relationship to negotiate terms. And again, this is all before like, I mean, Alibaba was maybe around a little bit, but like, I mean, it was old school connections
Yeah.
and just it was really fun, really fun. So that collaboration, as soon as we resurfaced from that, maybe like 6 months in, I was like, we have got to do this again. And a friend of mine, Ali Edwards, who was also a scrapbooker, kind of had her product at a multiplicity of different places. And I just made an offhanded comment that we can help with that. And that turned into what Inked is today, which is a platform of brands that services about 12 brands currently.
Yeah. So, just so you don't feel bad, you're not the first business owner I've come across that did not understand the difference between cash flow and their P&L.
All right.
It's 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 sadly more common
Yes.
than you'd think. They go, well, I have money in the bank. Why does it say I don't? Or vice versa. And
Well,
so,
I think it's a blessing because I did not major in business, and I majored in speech pathology, really putting that degree to use. And
okay,
I feel like the blessing is though, is I don't mind saying I don't know something.
yeah,
Like that is because I love learning. I'm very curious about it. And I want to understand. I feel like I'm doing a much better. I early on I figured out the P&L, and then by force I had to figure out cash flow. And then later on, I've really invested some time into trying to understand my balance sheet a bit more. I'm no expert, but I'm not afraid to say I don't know. And I think that that is like kind of the key is to stay as humble as you can and realize you
yeah,
don't have to know everything to run a successful business. And and also you can have fun, like just learning new things. That those
yeah,
new challenges keeps life interesting. If you're
yeah.
solving the same
But
problem over and over again, that's boring.
yeah, well, he talked about humble and hungry are two of the.
I've always been that.
So that willingness to say you don't know and ask questions is overlooked a lot by people, and
Yes.
so that's
Yeah.
that's good that you.
I love it to find people that have like that natural curiosity about things too. Like, how does this work and how can we make it better? And I just love finding other people that have that same curiosity.
Yeah. So Inked is your brand you're operating under now, right? So
Yes, correct.
Inked Brands, is that
Inked Brands is
Inked
correct.
Brand?
Inkbrands.com.
Get that correct. So so that was your third, it sounded like your third collaboration kind of led to that.
Basically, that was the first one that we white labeled completely onto its
Okay.
own website, and then we had to bring a couple investors on at that point, just small, very small investors on, just to fund the inventory for that venture, and then once that was a success, and there were all I say was a success. Allie and I joke now about how rough those first years were. We can laugh about now, but we were figuring it out together. Like, I mean, you gotta back at the time, direct to consumer e-commerce was not a thing. Like we were pioneering that whole world. And specifically in the industry, we were kind of the big dogs at the time. There were some online scrapbook stores, but they weren't subscription models at all, and certainly didn't have like a single personality behind them. And so we were just marketing, and everything was new and different. I mean, these were like the pre or early Facebook years, like before when it
Mhm.
was really on college campuses and not, out to the general public. And so it's the Wild West and fun times to convert new customers.
And I don't think we actually said that at the beginning, but you started this like around '05, something like that?
2007. Yeah, you're
So,
good. Yeah,
I mean,
2007. You're
that
right
was,
before the recession. Um, which I would say also turned out to be a blessing because I could see consumer behavior then, and we figured it out, and we started, moving and adapting to that whole climate. People were canceling their Disney trips because they're thousands of dollars, but they were keeping their scrapbook supplies,
yeah.
and like they were making decisions that way. But then um other people were really upon hard times and having to cancel everything. And so learning and adapting and how to sell in that environment, market your products in that environment, who to market to, how to do it, the conversation and how you have that conversation is because it can kind of be touchy, is like we need to stay afloat as a business, right?
Mhm.
We have mouths to feed here,
Yeah.
here at Eight, but and at Studio Calico at the time, and so we had a vested interest in finding the way to the other side, and we just kind of fought our way and learned our way through it. And so then when COVID hit in 2020, that really, it felt like flexing some old muscles there, and it just felt
Mm,
like muscle memory was
yeah.
there in terms of how to pivot and how to do it quickly and what signs to kind of look for. And it was that. So I think if you're a business that made it through the recession of 2007, you kind of had a leg up on
Yeah.
what 2020 turned out to
Yeah.
be.
Well, I mean, we always talk about recession-proof businesses and
Mhm.
lower things with lower points of entry, and like you said, when you're going to choose between several $1,000s to go to Disney or maybe having fun with your kids at home for a few
Mhm.
$100s,
Yes.
you're
People are
probably going to
canceling those Disney trips in 2020 as well, but for different
for
reasons.
different reasons. But again, you could still do crafts and things.
Yes, you can still remember your Disney trip you took by putting it in a scrapbook.
There
So,
you go.
but yeah, we did branch out. So after Ali Edwards, we started branching out into other businesses, and so we had already had a well-established relationship with our product suppliers in Asia by that time. Negotiated better terms, helped our cash
Mhm.
flow a teensy bit because we're still growing, and
Yeah.
that rate of growth is very hard to kind of overcome from a cash perspective. And so ended up branching out into the gift industry and stationery because there's a lot of overlap in the fact
Sure.
and the product category. So we already had an expertise there and relationships there. Um, and then after that, we started working with some apparel and printing like some light cut and sew and doing apparel in the room right next to me. And then after that, we kind of got a bug for bringing in blank inventory from Asia, namely like India, China, Vietnam, and bringing in blank inventory that was produced really well. And so a lot of the products that we made that we work with, like glass and others, and some stainless steel and whatnot, is those industries haven't developed in America. Well, maybe they did years and years ago, but they're not here now. And so
Mhm.
we are able to work in the factory with ceramics and glassware and whatnot, and bring the blanks over here and then finish the goods here. And
Mhm.
so not only does that give us flexible inventory, but it also provides jobs here in America. It lets us be reactive to the trends and what's going on here. And so it really kind of helps to it helps on all fronts. It just really
Yeah.
does. I really enjoy bringing what business we can to America and specifically to Kentucky.
Yeah. So do you still have the scrapbooking and the sleeves and the all that stuff still? You still have those
Yes,
original
so
products?
that makes up about, so all the scrapbooking products. So we have three scrapbooking brands: Studio Calico, Heidi Swap, and Ali Edwards, and that makes up about half of our direct to consumer revenue currently.
Okay. Wow. So
Yeah,
it's
and
still a big chunk.
it's a big chunk, yeah, and we do a whole lot more, wholesale now than we did previously, and that was another pivot we made about 5 years ago.
Mm.
Was to open it was, we kind of went backwards. It's like most businesses started in wholesale, selling business to business, and then figured out direct to consumer e-commerce later. We were the exact opposite. We
Here
went
did.
from direct to consumer back to, so we're like, well, how do we do wholesale? So thankfully that we had lots of people who've done it for many years to help us along the way.
So not long after you started, eBay comes along, and then Shopify and all these other
eBay
platforms.
was already there, but Shopify and the ability to democratize e-commerce wasn't
Yeah,
really there at the time. So we had, it was funny in those early years, we had to figure out, I said, man, these websites are so awful. You guys, y'all would just not believe what websites were like. If you're younger than 30, you would not believe what a website actually, like an e-commerce site looked like. You had to hunt to find how to buy something.
yeah,
Now things just hop in your car and you've checked out before you even know it. You're like, whoops,
yeah,
you didn't accidentally buy anything. You had to purposely walk through about 100 screens before you could buy it and
yeah,
searching the button along the way. So my job was like in those early days was like to figure out the tech as much as it was to figure out the products that we were selling and how we were going to market it. It's like, how do I
yeah,
get the button there and to function really nicely so that they know where to click? So
yeah. I think I told you I built an e-commerce product for a client like in 99, 2000, something like that. And, it's horrendous.
yes,
One was, it was terribly difficult
yes,
because there weren't any models really to follow. You had to
no,
kind of make it up on your own, and just little things, just, do you have to register or not? Things like that,
yes,
that just where there weren't really standards yet.
right.
So it's interesting. So
Yeah, there
you
were
you
not standards and trying it on different brow and like that was in the era of like a million browsers. I
oh
mean,
yeah,
there were so many different browsers and you had to test on it because no people hadn't assimilated to a few browsers yet. They were
yeah.
all over
You'd
the
say tested on IE and Netscape or whatever.
yeah,
You'd say that at the
exactly.
bottom of your screen, because if they came on with something else, you just couldn't.
Yeah,
No,
you're out of luck, yes.
yeah. And we still have a little of that today, but it's not as bad.
There's just so much value though in having and having problem solved through through that because now the problems seem a lot they're different, but they're easier in a lot of
Yeah,
ways. Because usually
yeah,
at this point now somebody's figured it out. So
yeah. Exactly, exactly. So where are you headed next? You told us a little bit about your journey, and you've over almost what 18 years you've built this up, kind of just bootstrapped it almost. You mentioned a little bit of investment, but
yes,
for the most part bootstrapped this thing up. Sounds like you tied into your friends and network a
yes.
lot, which is a smart thing to do if you're starting small. But now you've got this, the 12 brands and all these opportunities. What do you see on the horizon?
Goodness. Well, we love having a diversity of brands. It is so fun to get to talk to a variety of different communities and develop products that fit each of those communities in a unique way while still um, kind of centering on a lot of the same pillars and product categories that we've already built. So I think the next thing for us is continuing to get better at what we're doing currently. I mean, we're still very new to the wholesale game. We've just gotten placement and the Targets and the Walmarts and Barnes and Noble and Books a Million. We've just been
Oh,
getting
wow.
placement there and trying to grow that. So I'd love to continue those relationships and developing more unique programs for them because one of the things that we do is because we're so nimble and because we really seek to understand our customers and seek to understand the data behind it and use that to make decisions. We operate best when we can place product in certain stores that fits not only their audience but our audience, and like magic kind of happens there, and it
Yeah.
doesn't detract from the other sales channels we have, like boutique wholesale channels, direct to consumer channels, and they're additive. They don't subtract from one another. Um, so I'd love to continue to do more of that with these national retailers and still continue to serve our specialty retailers our our direct to consumer audiences as well. And then from there, I think it's adding more brands. We've kind of gotten a system now that that's pretty well oiled. Like it's funny that I still see the problems in it, and I'm like, okay, we need to fix this, we need to fix that, we could do this better. But compared to what it was like when we onboarded our first brand, it's completely different. It's so much more smooth, and so the problems seem a lot smaller now. And so I'd love to continue to add brands to our portfolio, to add new audiences that we don't currently serve, and new product categories, and also new sales channels. So
Yeah.
specifically, we want to get better at Amazon and TikTok Shop. And so those are a few of the things that we're looking at. I know Amazon, a lot of people have been on Amazon for a while, but we haven't. And we're being really selective about what we put there. But yeah, we're definitely looking for it. We currently serve a lot of brands that are female focused.
Mhm.
And I would love to add some brands that are authentic to us, but maybe serve a diversity
People like me.
besides just women. Yeah. I mean, we have some brands that are more gender neutral as well, like One Canoe Two and Church Notes. We definitely have some of those, but yeah, by and large, it's very female dominated.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a whole, double your potential audience out there.
Yes,
You can
exactly,
if you can
exactly.
find the
And the
right.
women who buy for the men. So we already have them. So
True.
yeah.
I mean, uh, golf supplies.
Yeah.
With personalized golf supplies. I mean,
That'd be your jam.
yeah, yeah. You got Kenny Perry right in your backyard.
We do love Kenny Perry. His family's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
uh, yeah. So you got natural connections there. So who
that's
knows?
exactly right. That's exactly right. His grandkids are coming up. They're pretty phenomenal too. They're winning
Yeah.
some junior
Oh
championship.
wow, that's cool. So if someone came to you and had, boy, I've got an idea for a brand, I just need a platform to get it out. What, let's say you signed a contract with someone. What's the timeline to get a
Mhm.
new product launch? Or I mean, you said it's simpler than it was.
Yes.
I'm just curious, what do you think a typical timeline looks like?
So, I mean, is always dependent on the product lead times and what category of product that we're doing. But in a typical brand, we would look and say, well, what are the items, that designs that we can apply to items and forms that we currently stock or currently have in development, that we can print in-house, or make in-house ourselves. Um, and then, if that's the case, we could get a brand up in like 2 to 3 months. It'd be really fast. And I don't know if we think through it the best in 2 to 3 months, but we could do it. But a more comfortable lead time is about 6 to 9 months. That gives us
Yeah.
time to think through those initial products, to launch with something. Because one of the things that I kind of learned, and again, I'm not a designer. I'm not an expert in anything. So I think that done is better than perfect most of the time.
I love
And
that.
if you just get something out there, you can get data on it and see how the customers are responding to it. And once you have that combined with your ability to trend set and the team that you have to recognize that and to build on it, it goes a lot smoother. So I think getting that first data point is good, and not being afraid to fail. Like,
Yeah.
most of what we launched in those early years, well, I say a lot of it worked. But there were a lot of failures too,
Yeah.
but learning, it's like, try to fail small. Like, when we start small, so that when we fail, because the failure rate is higher in the beginning than it is later on.
Yeah. I like several things you said there. That I always say perfection is the enemy of done. And
Yes.
and now whenever I work a lot of like healthcare clients and stuff, and they're like, no, 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 perfect
Yes,
is
we need to get it
is a
right.
perfect is a good standard in healthcare. I get that. If you're operating on me, I want you to be perfect. But
Yes.
but most stuff in life doesn't have to be perfect. And you had a great point there of getting that first product out, getting some data, getting feedback. That's a lot better than boy waiting until you have every answer. It's
Yes.
great
And not being
advice.
afraid of that feedback. I think some people get paralyzed by the daunting task that it is to launch a brand and to bring product to market. And they're hard things to do. But they're also exciting things to do. And so I look
Yeah,
at, what does success feel like in that on the other side.
yeah, yeah. The visualization of success is one of those. Uh, and the more you can see it, taste it, smell it, then
Mhm.
then it helps drive you towards it for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. So, other than the just getting past the the recession and COVID, and I mean those weren't small issues by any means. But what's a failure or a challenge that you're extraordinarily proud of coming through and solving?
Okay, so the most recent one has been these tariffs. Those have been
Oh,
really interesting to navigate. I mean, we were, in May, we had product that was back to school is a huge time for us, both online, direct to consumer, and in mass retail, because that's where people are shopping back, the general consumer is shopping back to school at, your Targets and Walmarts. And so that was really a challenge for us because we had product either ready to ship or on the water that were being played that were facing 170% tariffs. But getting on the phone, talking to people, working with our suppliers, talking to the folks at Target and Walmart, and trying to figure out what levers could be pulled and how to pull them, how tight to pull them. And we were able. I mean, we definitely didn't come out unscathed. We had some failures within that, but it was a big success on the other side. The fact that we didn't get all these POs canceled. We got a couple
yeah,
canceled, but it wasn't a devastating amount, and it could have been terrible. And yeah, coming out the other side, and now we've been through that with the buyers. We've been through that with Target and Walmart, and we're all better for it,
Mm.
and
I probably
there
need to
was
talk to you about that because I have a client right now still struggling with tariffs.
I mean, they are still a problem. I mean, you have to adjust all your pricing, and definitely our 2025 numbers will look different than we projected because of that. I mean,
Yeah,
how could they not? When you're in
right.
2024 and you're projecting your 2025 budget, you didn't
Yeah,
predict
didn't
that there
know.
would be 170% tariff on your items. So, but then being able to come out the other side and like time the shipments correctly, and so that you didn't have to be hindered as much as you otherwise would have. Be creative about how you bring it in. Like bringing in unprinted goods really helped us during that time because the tariff is assessed on the price of the product. Well, it costs more to produce a printed good in China than it does an unprinted. So we were able to not pay the tariff on it coming on the decorated part of it. Yeah,
100, so there really were 170% tariffs on some
yeah,
items.
yeah. There
Wow,
were some products that ended up having 170%, but I think we brought most of ours in around 50 to 55%, I think. So I'm still not an insignificant amount.
that's not
And then thankfully, because of the relationships that we've developed, and this is just why relationships are so important in any business, is our vendors had already helped us by alerting us to our options and to move some of our China production over to Vietnam. Now, not all of it, but enough that it really helped us to avoid
right.
the heavier Chinese tariffs. So yeah, I mean that's just I'm not gonna say that that was fun, but I do love a challenge. Like
Mm.
I love challenges and I love problem solving, and that was fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
In some ways it was fun. It's those things that you look back on and you're like, we did
Yeah,
it. We did it.
absolutely. I mean, we're most proud of
Yeah.
the struggles. We
Yes.
remember the struggles much more than the easy things.
That's right. That's right.
So and I think if you look back over your life, you remember the struggles more than
Yeah.
more than the easy times. Well, great, April. Thanks so much. I like to kind of end with a kind of this kind of question. Just what advice would you give to that entrepreneur just getting started that's maybe has a dream they're trying to build? Based on your learnings, what sage advice do you have for them?
I think I've given several pieces in here that it can apply. The first one would probably be just do it. Just start with something. Like I said, done is better than perfect. So just start. Just put something out there. Don't be afraid to fail, but look at the failures and try to assess why it fails. And be honest with yourself. I think so many times we look at ourselves and we want to blame it on outside factors. Oh, we failed because of the economy. Well, other people are succeeding in this environment, so how are they doing it?
Yeah,
And try to emulate that. So I think excuse making has no place in entrepreneurship.
absolutely. 100% agree with that. So thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for telling your story. It's an inspiring one, and I hope folks that are interested in learning more about what you do will check out inked brands, and connect with April if you need to maybe you're looking for a platform to bring a product to market. So it
Right.
might be a good connection. So April, thank you
Thank
for
you,
being on the
John.
program. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked it, please share or like it on whatever platform you use. You can find me on social media. On most platforms, I'm John K. Jennings. My first book is also available. Your Baby is Ugly tells you about 10 truths that business owners need to hear, but often won't, and how to overcome them. You can find it on Amazon. Just search for Your Baby is Ugly. And be watching for our next episode, where I'll interview another business owner who will share their stories and insights into what it's like to create a great business.